For the first time, somebody hit the brakes on the smartest machine ever built. Not because it broke, but because it works too well. The government quietly asked the biggest AI lab in the country to slow down the release of its newest model, to spread it out, to stagger it. Don't drop the whole thing on the world at once. And the AI lab, well, they said yes. This is not a recall. This is not a bug. This is a piece of technology so capable that the people in charge decided that the public should get it in pieces, on a leash, at a pace that they can actually control. This is the whole show today, because once you understand that move, everything else this week starts to make sense. Slowing down the release does not slow down the building. Those are two different engines. One is how fast they hand the keys to us. The other is how fast they build the next car in the garage. You can throttle the first one all day long. The second one, it never stops. So picture two lines on a graph. One line is what the public is allowed to use. The other line is what these labs already have running behind locked doors. Every time they show the public line, the private line keeps climbing. The gap between the two get wider and wider. So for years, there's a running joke in the AI world. They would say, oh, the real breakthrough already happened inside of what we're using. We just haven't seen it yet. People laughed. This week, that joke stopped being a joke. When you deliberately hold back the release, you're admitting the thing inside the building is further ahead than the thing in your hands. It's like a restaurant with two menus, the one they hand you at the table and the one the chef actually cooks from in the back. We've been ordering off the polite menu this entire time. Now let me show you why this matters for you, the person watching this on a break, not for some investor that lives his existence in a glass tower. When power gets held back, it doesn't disappear, it pools, it concentrates. The people inside the building get further and further ahead of the people outside the building. And the people outside the building, well, that's us. The plumber, the teacher, the nurse, the single mom running a side business off of her phone at midnight. This is the thing that I'm not going to let slide. The folks building these systems are not sitting around thinking about your mortgage. This is not them being evil, it's just plain and simple math. They're optimizing for the race they are in. So somebody has to do the thinking about us. And that's actually the job I signed up for. And the race is real because this isn't happening to us in a vacuum. When one side slows down what it shows the public, the other side of the world gets a chance to catch up to that public line. Not the secret line, but the public one. So now you have a strange situation brewing. A country that was months behind gets to close the visible gap, while the leaders quietly pull further ahead in private. That sets up a fight over who is even allowed to release what. Talk of bans, talk of approval lists, talk of real penalties for shipping the wrong model. And here's the trap. None of that touches the part that actually matters. The machines that are learning to improve themselves don't care about a release schedule. You can ban a download. You can't ban the building. So the policy fights over what gets shipped while the real action keeps happening where nobody's losing. That's your big story, and hold on to that because every other headline this week is a branch off that same trunk. Let's talk about your wallet because this already showed up at the checkout counter. One of the biggest companies on earth just raised the price of its laptops and tablets by $200 or more. First time they have pushed this kind of cost straight to the consumer. The reason? Well, it's memory. The chips that store and move data are suddenly scarce and expensive because every AI data center on the planet is buying them by the truckload. Think about what that means. The AI boom is not just a thing on your screen anymore. It is reaching into a store, into a price tag, into the thing that you are going to buy your kid for school. The head of that company said the cost spike is unlike anything he has ever seen in the last 40 years. Well, it's a new kind of inflation, and it's not coming from gas or groceries first. It's coming from compute, from the electricity, from the memory, from the warehouses full of machines learning to think. The cost has to go somewhere, and it always rolls downhill to us like an out-of-control snowball. So when somebody tells you AI is free, gently remind them nothing is free. Somebody is paying for a power bill. Lately, more and more, it's showing up on yours. Now, on the flip side of that, because it's not all squeezed, there's an escape hatch, and it's called efficiency. The fix for expensive AI is cheaper AI, and the engineers are chasing it hard. This is a new work on running these systems completely different kinds of hardware. Physical systems, substrates that sip power instead of guzzling it. The goal is 1,000 times more efficient while keeping the quality very high. And under the hood, the chips themselves are about to take a leap. There is a new design that crams nearly 100 billion tiny switches into a piece of silicon the size of your fingernail, smaller than a nanometer. To put that in plain terms, a nanometer is so small you could line up tens of thousands of them across a single human hair. And they're building that now. The promise is up to 70% better efficiency in the next handful of years. And why should you care about a fingernail full of switches? Well, because efficiency, that's the great equalizer. When the tech gets cheaper to run, it stops being a toy for giants and starts being a tool for the rest of us. The hairstylist gets an assistant, the contractor gets a dispatcher, the corner shop gets a system that used to cost a fortune. That's the door I'm trying to hold open for everyone. Speaking of the work changing, here's a number that stopped me cold. A coding tool inside one of these big labs is now writing almost all of its own output. We're talking 99.8% of the code it produces every week generated by the machine itself. And the people using it are not just programmers anymore. Folks who never wrote a line of code in their life are using it more than 100 times as much as they were less than a year ago. The machine is largely building the machine, and the door to using it just swung wide open to the regular people. It's the difference between needing a licensed electrician for every little thing and suddenly being handed a tool that wires the house for you while you point at where you want the lights. This is happening right now in real companies with real deadlines. This is exactly where I live. This is the work voice systems that answer the phone for businesses at 2 o'clock in the morning. Automations that follow up with a lead so the owner can actually sleep or work somewhere else. The thing that giants are building for themselves, we can point at our own lives, at our own businesses. And that's the whole game. Not watching the future happen for other people or to them, but deploying it ourselves. Now let me take you somewhere that sounds like science fiction and is actually becoming science fact, and it's sitting in a lab right now. The body. There's a company whose stock jumped 24% on early results for a hair loss treatment that an AI designed. Not discovered by accident, designed. A major drug company put $100 million behind it and behind a treatment for a painful condition that affects millions of women and has been ignored for far too long. There's a research group pointing at the same AI biology at rare diseases. The ones too small to ever get attention. The ones where a family is on their own with a diagnosis nobody has ever heard of. And there's a team that took the image of the blood vessels inside a living brain through the intact skull with sound waves. They put the whole method out in front of anybody to build on it. This is a step towards a day when checking what's happening inside your head is as simple as putting on a skull cap or a headset. For most of history, the cutting edge of medicine was for the few, the well-connected, the wealthy, the people who knew which door to knock on. When AI designs the drug and somebody pushes the method for free, the edge starts reaching for the rest of us. The veteran, the grandmother, the kid nobody could diagnose. That's the promise. And we have to make sure it actually gets here. Nobody stops it. And the body is going mobile in another way too. There's now a humanoid robot, one that walks and runs and gets back up when it falls, seeing for around the price of a decent gaming computer, under $5,000. A robot in that range is not a someday number, that's a this year number for Christmas. Now here's the hard one. The defense side rewrote its own rule book. The language now allows AI to take the first step in a wartime action with a human watching. That's watching, folks, not pulling the trigger, watching. We've spent years promising that there would always be a human fully in the loop. This is a quiet step towards a human standing next to the loop instead of inside it. Now, I'm not here to scare you. I want to be straight with you, but when a system can move faster than a person can react, putting a human nearby is not the same as putting a human in charge. Anyone who's ever had to make a split-second decision under pressure knows the difference between being the one who decides and being the one who is told after. We should all want to know which one we are signing up for. Closer to home, there's finally an honest attempt to measure what AI is doing to our jobs. One state stood up a tracker to watch for it. The early read is not a sudden collapse, no overnight apocalypse. Instead of it's a real pain, hitting certain educated workers in certain fields first. That matches what I see on the ground. It's not a tidal wave, it's a slow ride. And slow are the ones that catch people who were sure the water would have never reached them. So what do we do with all this? Because I'm not going to leave you standing in a storm without a coat. Here's the through line, the single most important pattern of the week. The distance between what AI can do and what we are allowed to see is growing on purpose. The release gets throttled and price quietly climbs. The robots get cheap, the drugs get designed by the software, the weapons get a little bit more autonomous, and the real power keeps pooling in a small number of rooms most of us will never stand in. It's not a reason to panic, but it is a reason to pay attention, because here's what they're counting on. They're counting on the rest of us watching the polite menu while they cook the real one. They're counting on us feeling like, well, this is too big, it's too fast, it's too technical. It's none of our business. It is our business. And it is the most important our business will ever be. So we learn it. We use the tools the moment they are cheap enough to touch. We put the voice agent on our small business. We let the AI draft the letter and design the flyer and answer the phone. We close the gap on our own side with our own hands instead of waiting for permission. There's an old line I keep coming back to. The oldest secrets are the ones that get read last. This week, researchers finally unrolled a scroll that was buried and sealed for almost 2,000 years and read it in the first time. You know what it turned out to be? A lesson on how to live well, on ethics, on keeping your head when the entire world is on fire. 2,000 years buried. And the message at the center of it was about character. You can stagger a release, you can throttle a download, you can hold the menu back, but you can't throttle a mind that has decided to finally understand. This is the one thing they cannot put a leash, and that's yours. So that's the assignment. Stay curious, stay sharp, stay in the room even when they would rather have you wait outside. This is AI with Honor, and the whole reason this show exists is simple. The power should not be only to the people who can afford to live in glass towers. It belongs to all of us. The plumber, the nurse, the veteran, the single mom at midnight. AI for everyone, not just the wealthy, not just the connected, but everyone. We'll be right here tomorrow reading by the menu that they didn't hand us. Take care of each other, and please be careful out there, and thank you for watching. I'm Connor with Honor. Good day.